So I feel like it's time that I am honest with myself and I'm honest with you guys. And I take time in today's video and really just address the struggle that I have been feeling mentally and emotionally in these past few weeks. I want to talk about because I know it's impacted my ability to produce videos and put content out there and really connect. And so I want to talk about it because I feel like talking about things can bring life to things. And I think when we bring life to things, that's when change can happen, or that's when movement can happen in the direction that we are wanting it to happen. So today I'm going to talk about the struggle that I have been in. Let's dive on in. I know it's been a minute since a new video has been put out, and I first want to apologize for that. I have really been struggling mentally and emotionally when it comes to creating content. But not only just with content, I have found myself struggling with doing things consistently, even in like daily things. So whether it's working out, whether it's, doing laundry or simple tasks, I feel like have become really overwhelming tasks for me to do. And that is something that I know a lot of people struggle with. And it's something that I have struggled with for as long as I can remember. I remember when I was in middle school and high school, and I would have these seasons or episodes where I was able to do what I felt like was anything and everything. I was what I would think maybe Superwoman is. And I was able to accomplish many things and do them well. But then I would always hit a wall. And it wasn't ever like a subtle wall, but it was like a hard brick wall that I felt like I would hit mentally and emotionally. And then what I was able to do within an ounce of energy now takes every ounce of energy that I have. And it's a cycle that I have found myself in for a long time. And I would say that these past few weeks, maybe a month or so, I have found myself in that cycle yet again, where I get really excited about new projects, new things that I'm working on, and I go in 1000%, but so much so where I eventually hit a wall because my capacity is no longer able to hold the weight that I started off with. It's kind of like when you're working out, right? And you start lifting weights and you start off really heavy after like maybe never lifting or just starting to lift. You will burn out way quicker when you start off heavier than you will if you work your way up to the heaviest weight. And that's what I find myself doing a lot. I will always start with the heaviest weight and then just burn out and then not want to go back to it because it felt like it took every ounce of energy that I had. I have always been the person who has found themselves in the cognitive distortion of all or nothing thinking, basically meaning I am all in and everything is great, or I'm in the space of everything is bad, I can't do anything, and I'm incapable of doing anything. And that's where I have found myself lately with creating content. Even, again, doing TikToks or going on Instagram, things like that, I have found it really hard to produce anything because I feel like, A, my creative juices have just not been flowing, but I think that's due to B, I feel like I was running so fast and so hard that I just ran out of steam. Now, these are patterns and behaviors that I am well aware of. This is something that I am becoming more in tune with and figuring out how to have a healthier balance and relationship with in having these ebb and flows of my mental and emotional health. And that's why I meet with my therapist. That's why I have, community in my life that keeps me accountable and things like that. So with that being said, what's next? Or what am I going to do about it? Or how am I going to get myself in a healthier place? Well, I'm glad you asked. Number one, something that I always have found helpful and I think will always be helpful is the simple act of acknowledging it. I really struggle with acknowledging that I'm struggling because as somebody who also deals with a lot of perfectionism tendencies and a lot of fear-based thinking about how I'm able to perform or not perform, admitting that I'm struggling seems like the hardest thing to do for me sometimes. It seems like if I admit that, as soon as that comes out of my mouth, then that automatically puts me in a space of no longer being needed and no longer being used. And that is probably one of my biggest fears that I continue to fight and battle almost on a daily basis. When I acknowledge, though, that I'm struggling, it really does help me feel a little more relief, but it also helps me address those fears of not being wanted or not being needed. Because when I admit that I'm struggling, it has never ended up being, oh, because you're struggling, then we don't need you on this. Oh, because you're struggling, I can't be your friend. Oh, because you're struggling, you're not needed here. That has never been the case. So when I acknowledge that I'm struggling, not only does it help move me in the right direction of finding necessary rest, but it also helps me in addressing some of those fear-based lies that I have held on to that have become a belief system that I'm continuing to learn how to change the narrative and live in a place of truth. The second thing that I am going to be doing, or that I have found myself doing lately, is taking it day by day. Now, again, this is something that seems so simple, and it really is simple, but it's not always easy for me. Taking it day by day really means being present and intentional with the day ahead and not holding on to what's happened or, trying to reach for what's going to happen, but really just embracing where I'm at now. When I do things day to day, that also helps with the feelings of burnout. It helps with the feelings of doing too much. It helps with the feelings of being overwhelmed, because taking one day at a time is always better than taking a week at a time, months at a time, years at a time. And that's what I tend to do, where I will take, what's happening in the next few months and take that all on in the moment right then and there. And again, it's based off excitement and adrenaline, but that wears out very quickly. So taking it day by day is one of the best ways that I have learned to recover from a burnout spell or a depressive low. And in the taking it day by day, I also think it helps with, the future me of not finding myself in this unhealthy pattern to the depth that I typically find myself in this unhealthy pattern. So again, taking it day by day, where I'm not holding on to what took place the day before. I'm not trying to reach and grab for the things that are coming, but I'm simply learning to be intentional and present in the day that is ahead of me, because there's enough there to hold on to. There's enough there to figure out. There's enough there to be mindful of and aware of. Now, that is not to say that you can't plan for the week ahead. That is not to say that I'm not, thinking of the events or opportunities that I have in the months to come. But what I am saying is that I'm going to be really intentional in not allowing the things that I've planned for or that are coming up be all consuming, so much so where I'm missing out on what's happening in that day and in that moment. Another thing that I'm going to really be encouraging my heart and my mind to do is giving myself some grace in this season. Grace is, again, something that I struggle with when it comes to myself. Compassion is something that I really struggle with when it comes to myself, because I feel like that I, again, struggle with the lie and the narrative that I'm not worthy of the grace or compassion that I show other people. And that is something that will always keep me stuck in a place of heaviness and feeling like a burden. And when I'm in that place, again, it leads to burnout a lot quicker, and it leads to feeling unfulfilled more often than not. So when I am intentional and when I am working on giving myself some grace and compassion, it really empowers me to recognize the gifts and the ability that I feel like the Lord has given me. But not only that, it also allows me the space to breathe and also be human as well. But when I do show grace and compassion to myself, when I do give myself some space and grace, I realize that it creates a lot more room for things to be held, but it also creates a lot more understanding and freedom of things that need to be released. At the end of the day, I know and I believe, and I'm holding on to the truth that I'm worthy of grace and compassion. And then I would say the other thing that is going to be really important for me in this season is challenging myself to find a healthy balance of excitement and readiness, while also balancing that with rest and intentionality. Again, as I've mentioned, when something exciting happens, or when an opportunity happens, or when I'm just feeling like this is it, I'm ready to go, I will go all in, but so much so that I don't implement any kind of rest along the way. our physical body can only handle so much. Now, I wouldn't say I've been in complete burnout where, I've completely been disengaged. There have been seasons in my life where it's been complete burnout, complete disengagement, just giving up on everything and anything around me. And thankfully, I have not been in that spot recently. I have found myself maybe leaning more towards that, or I have found myself doing certain habits or behaviors that may indicate that's around the corner. But thankfully I haven't been there yet, but I feel like I was on my way to that corner and to that burnout. And that's just not a place that I enjoy being. And it's a place that I really struggle in being. I want to be really intentional in challenging myself to find the balance of pursuing the things that I'm meant to pursue in this season with purpose, and knowing that rest is involved in the pursuit. I think some practical things that I am implementing and really working on that has been helpful and will continue to be helpful in me coming out of this season of struggle is, number one, is moving my body, working out. I have actually been doing these workouts. They're on YouTube and they've been wonderful. But the lady is Heather Robertson. She's on YouTube and she has like these 45-minute workouts and they are wonderful. I find that when I move my body, number one, it just makes me feel better. When I'm able to release certain chemicals in my brain, or when I'm able to reduce certain chemicals in my brain by working out, I just feel a little more relaxed. I also feel a little more motivated, but in a healthy way. And I also feel just physically a little bit better. As I'm coming out of the season of struggle, something that I've been really praying about and just trying to be intentional about as well in regards to working out is I want to be really good to my body because, if babies are in the future, or if, as I continue to just get older, I'm realizing the importance of my body, what I'm feeding it, how I'm treating it. And so working out in this season has been really good for me mentally, but just even the physical ability and just even challenging my body has been a good focus for me as well. And it's been something that's helped me personally get out of the season of struggle. Now, I'm still trying to find a consistent routine with it. I have been doing it like maybe 3 or 4 days a week. And so maybe it stays there. Maybe it goes to every day. I'm not sure yet, but I can tell you already, anytime that I work out in the morning, it has been really helpful for me. And I feel like it has set my day up for success, and I just feel better about my day. Another thing that I'm practically doing that I feel like has been helpful is actually in regards to social media and the time that I spent there. I have been putting myself on time limits, not perfect at it yet, but I've been really trying to put myself on time limits on how much I scroll and the times of day that I scroll. So mornings, I'm trying to be a lot better about not scrolling, as soon as I get out of bed or even before I get out of bed, but really making sure I get up, feed my dog, make some breakfast, work out, and then maybe scroll. And so even just being intentional with the amount I'm scrolling, that has been helpful for sure. I'm also in that place though, if I'm being honest, where I also feel, which again is part of the problem, I can feel when I haven't scrolled for a little bit, I'm like, okay, I need to go find something to do. And so that's just me being honest, but I do know it's been helpful because I've been able to find productive things to do or restful things to do that don't involve my brain going because I'm now scrolling. And so that's been good. The other part of the social media aspect that's been helpful is I've been pre-planning a little bit better, or maybe a little bit more intentionally, where maybe I don't plan for 2 weeks in advance, but maybe I just take a couple days at a time or a couple post ideas at a time. Because even with the planning of posts, I found myself doing weeks at a time, which was great, but then that last post would come and I'm like, I don't have the energy to do 4 or 5 more weeks. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, because I can't do all of those weeks, I can't do any of those weeks. So even finding more balance in my planning out schedule, or how I am planning out posts. So that's been really helpful as well when it comes to this season and getting out of the season of struggle, especially when it comes to being consistent on the social media platforms. I would say the second to last practical thing that has made me feel better in this season, coming out of the season of struggle, is being with community, being with friends. This past weekend, I got a chance to hang out with friends in Tennessee, and it was just a refreshing, sweet time with them. Not only in a new space, but in a space that create a lot of laughter and good moments and just sweet, intentional times and great conversations. And that is always super fulfilling for me. And that is something that I really needed in this season, because it really filled my cup up in a way that I didn't realize had maybe been empty for a little while. And so being able to hang out with friends and, be in a new space and explore a new space with them was really good. Then last, but definitely not least, one of the best things that has been helpful and something that I am still continuing to be intentional in, and I mean, it's something that I know is always good for me, but it's still hard for me to always implement, if that makes sense. But that is being in my word. Reading the Bible is something that is so refreshing. It's so refreshing. And I, again, in my mind, which I know is not of the Lord and it's not a healthy mindset, but in my mind, I've always feared and I have felt that if I can't read like 20 chapters, then I can't read anything. Or if I can't memorize and, all these verses, then it's useless for me to dive in. And that is just simply not true. Thankfully, I'm in a season where I feel like the Lord is just teaching me how to soak in the word. And sometimes it's just a few verses. Recently for me, it's been Psalm 23, and there have been seasons where Psalm 23 is just where I stay at, because it's the thing that I need that's going to get me through the season that I'm in. And I feel like Psalm 23 has been a sweet chapter that has just reminded me that even in the darkest of times, like the Lord has been right there. Even in the times when I feel like there's no hope, the Lord is my hope. And so I think for me, I'm realizing, especially in this season, that the Bible is so rich and it's so unique in providing a resource that nothing else can provide. And so that has been, again, something that's been really helpful for me in this season of getting out of the struggle season. And am I all the way out of it? Probably not yet, and that's completely okay. But do I know that I'm working my way out of it? Yeah. And that's really comforting, and it's in and of itself. And so that's where I'm at right now. I, again, just wanted to share that with you because I know it's been a few weeks since I posted a new video. And if I'm also honest, I'm just now realizing this. If I'm also honest with myself, I think, which is going to sound silly, the more I put out there, the more I'm scared of having to meet the expectations of everybody. And again, that goes back to the perfectionism and people pleasing that I'm still working through. But I'm just now realizing that sometimes when things grow for me, which is a great thing, obviously, right? I want my channel to grow. I want my influence to grow, and I want to be able to reach people that I would never be able to reach, in my office. But when that growth happens, I feel like I almost get scared of it. Wow, I'm just realizing this. I feel like I get scared of the growth because I feel like it's more responsibility, and I feel the heaviness of that responsibility. And so maybe even in this season, it's going to be me learning how to understand that responsibility it's natural and it's okay. It's not anything to be scared of, but it's something to be aware of, and something to be aware of in the sense of I have to really just be intentional with the season that I'm in. I have to be intentional with the time that I put in, the way I spend my time, and the way I steward the things that are given or that are presented to me. And so I think that's also a reason why I was struggling. Wow, I'm just realizing that literally right now as I'm talking. I think I was struggling because I started to feel the weight of what I wanted. I started feeling the weight of a little bit of success, or I started feeling the weight of I don't want to let anyone down, and I want to make sure that I continue to produce things that people enjoy. Okay. Wow. I literally just realized that as I'm talking it out with you guys. See, this is why talking things through can be helpful, because you literally can come to a place of, oh, wait, that's actually what that is. Okay. Anyway, I know today's video was a little different. Next week I'll be back with obviously my pop culture tea. But I just wanted to share openly and honestly with you guys, and share vulnerably with you guys where I'm at, where I've been at, and maybe why you haven't seen as much of me or heard from me as much. And so, yeah, as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you guys supporting and showing love and commenting and just being so kind. I am so appreciative of each and every one of you. Again, if you like all things mental health, therapy, pop culture, reality TV, then this might be the channel that you would enjoy. If you haven't yet, I would love for you to go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and turn on your notifications. That way you guys are notified when brand new videos are out and ready for you to enjoy. All right, guys, until next time.